Everything can change with a simple decision. And sometimes, this decision is disguised in the pages of a book. Today we'll start another powerful episode here on the channel, one of those you will keep in the heart. But before we dive into today's impact history, I want to remind you of something essential. English hearing practice can transform your life. Yes, listening carefully, getting involved with the tongue, allowing you to make mistakes, repeat, and feel, that is exactly what creates the basis of true learning. This is how fluency begins to flourish without pressure, but with presence. And I know, maybe you have tried to learn English before. Maybe it was frustrated, finding that there is no way, that is too late, or simply not born with gift for that. But let me tell you a truth. Learning English is not about gift. It is about persistence. It's about allowing you to live the language a little every day. And what you are doing now, listening, paying attention, opening to new words, is already a huge step. Now take a deep breath, prepares, because the journey that we are going to live together today will remind you that everything can change with a choice. A young man, a book, and a future. Stay with me until the end. I promise you'll get out of this video more clearly, more inspiration, and more desire to learn. Shall we start? It was a hot Sunday afternoon. The streets were empty, and the only sound that was heard was the corner of the birds mixed with the light rustling of the trees shaking in the wind. In a simple house, in the middle of a city forgotten by the spotlight, a young man was sitting on the edge of the bed, his eyes lost and a heart full of doubts. His name was Lucas. Lucas was no different from most. It had dreams. I wanted to change my life. I wanted to offer something better for the mother who always worked too much and never complained. I wanted something beyond what you saw around you. Withdrawal, routine, tiredness. But it also carried a feeling that many know well, the fear of not being enough. The school no longer inspired him. The friends, though dear, did not understand what he felt inside. It was like something burning inside my chest, a desire to be more, to go beyond, but not knowing where to start. And it was then that something seemingly small happened. Amid the forgotten books in an old garage box, Lucas found a shabby, faded blue cover. The title was simple: Bright Minds Change the World. Not knowing exactly the reason, he took him. He flipped the first pages, and something in that reading aroused something different. It was as if, for the first time, someone was talking directly to him. The book told stories of ordinary people who overcame fear, poverty, abandonment, and found forces in unlikely places. Each chapter was like a mirror. And the more I read, the more Luke felt something new. Hope. And do you know what is most interesting? It was not a magic. It was not a revelation of heaven. It was just a connection. Between him and those words, it was as if that book knew exactly what he needed to hear. And it wasn't just about success. It was about believing. Over time, reading became a sacred ritual. He began to book a moment a day for this. And the impact didn't stop there. A chapter talked about learning a new language, as English could open doors, generate opportunities, and even change someone's fate. It stuck to your mind. Lucas had never given the ball to the English. It seemed too difficult, too far away. But in that book, he understood that the language was not just a lot of rules. It was a bridge to know other cultures, access content that once seemed unreachable, communicate with the world. That's when it all started to change. He had no money for a course, but I had access to the internet, and it was enough. It started with free videos, repeating phrases, listening to audios, training alone. And the more he exposed himself to the language, the more he lost the fear. He made mistakes. Several. But he learned to laugh at them. With each new word learned, I felt that it was closer to that future that once existed in the imagination. Now think to me for a moment. How many young people are there like Lucas? Full of dreams, but without direction. Full of potential, but surrounded by doubt. And how many of these young people have a mobile, a connection, a hidden will, but they still don't understand the power that carries? Lucas understood, and so he followed. Months passed, then years. English has become a passion, then a skill, and gradually he began to stand out. He translated books, entered international forums, made friends from other countries, and, the most amazing, got a scholarship to study outside. All because one day, in a dusty garage, he found a book and decided to believe it. But calm down. The story is not about miracle. It is about movement. Lucas didn't wait. He acted. He did it little, a lot. He turned words into practice. And do you know what this shows? That a better future does not depend on luck. It depends on attitude. It depends on you understand that what you hear, what you consume, what you practice, shapes who you become. And at this point, English hearing practice comes with silent but giant power. Because while you listen, without realizing it, you are training your brain, getting used to your ears, absorbing pronunciations, contexts, and even emotions of another language. It is an invisible construction, but real. And Lucas understood this intuitively. He listened to audios as he washed the dishes, watched videos with caption. He repeated phrases aloud even alone. He made English part of his life, not an obligation of the school. And there is the secret. What you turn into habit transforms you back. And today, you may be exactly at the point where Lucas was, full of questions, tired of the routine, thinking that everything is too far. But what if right now this video is your blue book? What if today is the turning point? The truth is that we all have a Lucas within us, and we can all find a book. It can be a video, a conversation, an insight. The important thing is what you do after you find. And you? Will you let this moment go? Or will you start turning your own pages today? Lucas did not become a genius overnight. He was still the same boy in the simple neighborhood, with a rusty bike and time spent for time. But inside, he was already another. The power of real change begins when no one is looking. It doesn't happen on stage, it happens on the backstage. And Lucas understood that. He did not expect applause. I didn't want likes. I wanted evolution. And the more I dived into reading, in the practice of English, the discovery of new worlds, the more I felt I was writing its own story. Page by page, word by word. He was no longer just a reader. He was an author, the author of your destiny. People began to realize something different. The Portuguese teacher noticed that he wrote better. The oldest cousin was curious about the fluent English he released in the conversations. The mother? Ah, the mother. She cried hidden when he heard him practicing high English in the room, because he knew deep down that something much bigger was born there. And the most beautiful? Lucas was not special. On the contrary, he believed everyone could. And when he realized that, he decided to share. Created a simple account on social networks. He started recording videos teaching basic phrases in English, explaining what he learned from books, and especially telling his story. He did not sell himself as an influencer. I didn't want fame. I just wanted to inspire who was in the same situation that he once lived. And then something amazing happened. Other young people started commenting, sending messages. Man, it seemed like you were talking to me. People everywhere identify themselves, connecting, getting up. This is how a community was born. Lucas created a study group, then a reading wheel, then a series of videos. In a short time, he became a reference. Not because it was the smartest, but because it was the most constant. Now imagine that. A boy without resources, without support, without titles, simply decided not to give up, decided that a book could change everything, and changed. But not just his life, changed that of many. And you know why? Because learning, when shared, multiplies, and knowledge, when lived with passion, contagious. Lucas had a motto, a phrase he repeated in almost all his videos. He said, "English didn't save me, but it awakened me." And that's even better. And made sense. Because English, for him, was more than a language. It was a tool, a key, a map to places that once seemed unattainable. And maybe you're listening to it now and thinking, but I don't have Lucas's courage. I'm not good with words. I'm ashamed. All good. No one starts ready. Not even Lucas. He also missed pronunciation. It also crashed when it comes to talking. It also doubted you. But he followed. And you can. The hearing practice you are doing now is a huge step. You are connecting with sounds, ideas, English emotions, and even without realizing it, you are training your brain to recognize patterns, intonations, meanings. This becomes natural over time. And one day when you least expect it, you will be understanding everything, speaking with fluidity, and proudly remembering where it started. And if you have a book by your side, even better. Because books have silent power. They don't scream, they don't jump in front of you, but when you listen to them, they transform you. Lucas started with one, and then others came. He read about philosophy, mindset, finance, spirituality, everything that helped strengthen the mind, because he understood that the language was just part of the way. The true growth came from within, from the content he consumed, the thoughts he fed, the beliefs he decided to leave behind. And one of these beliefs was that he was not capable. That was the first that he broke. Because as he advanced, he noticed something powerful. There is no magic. There is habit. And he made the habit greater than the doubt. Today, Lucas is a young man who lives outside the country, studies at a respected university, translated his first book into English, and it didn't leave your roots. He still records simple videos with the same cell phone as before, in the same welcoming tone, because he didn't forget the boy who once found that old book in the garage. And every time he shares a new sentence, a new lesson, he returns to the beginning, to the first step, on the first page. And that's why he continues to impact lives. And you? What will your first page be? Sometimes we expect a big sign, a light in the sky, a push of fate. But maybe the sign is here now, in this story. Maybe the push is this video. Perhaps your blue book is not made of paper, but of spoken words, like the ones you are listening to. You have already taken the first step. It's listening. It is connected. It's here. And that is already a lot. Now what comes next? It depends on you. Then take a deep breath. Feel this energy. And keep this phrase. What you practice in silence will shine in public. Be like Lucas. Start even without having everything ready. Even in fear. Even without knowing how it will end. Because sometimes everything we need is to turn the first page. Luke's story shows us something deep and true. It's not about having everything now. It's about doing something with what you have today. It is about planting seeds even when the terrain looks dry. And trust that, with dedication and patience, the fruits will come. He started with an old book, a moment of silence, a simple choice. And it was enough to start turning everything. Because the future, it's not something distant. It is born every day in the decisions you make now. And do you know what that means to you? That you can too. You can get a notebook now and write down 5 words in English. You can hear this video again, more carefully, pausing, repeating, feeling each sentence. You can promise to yourself that starting today, you will book 15 minutes a day to listen to English. You will use your headset like a magic wand. It will transform your roots, your intervals, your moments of rest, in times of practice. It is not about perfection. It is about presence. English is not just a language. It is a new way of seeing the world. And you are much closer than you think. Even if now you can only understand a few words, continue. Even if you still miss it, continue. Because that's how it grows. And believe me, every audio listened, every video watched, every new word learned, all of this is adding. It is creating roots inside you. And one day, without realizing it, you will look back and get emotional with how much you walked. So what I ask you now is simple but powerful. Don't stop. Continue. With courage, with faith, with intention, and with love for your own process. If you felt that this message spoke to you, if you somehow touched you, then do the following. Subscribe on the channel now. Leave a comment below telling me what you will start today. What will be your first step? I want to read your story. I want to follow you up close. And if you can, share this video with someone you love, because maybe this person is also in need of a little push, of a blue book, a sign that there is still time to turn the game. Thank you for being here, for listening with the heart, and for believing with me, yes. With a young man, a book, and a future, everything can change. Now go with courage, go with faith, and never forget, your English starts with the sound you choose to hear today.